Okay, let's go then. Hi everyone, how are you doing? Great? Woo! Come on, I can get better than that now. Hey, again, it's an honor and a pleasure here to be at Devox. I'm delivering this tools in action where hopefully after 30 minutes you will have a better understanding of what MCP is, okay? A few words about myself. I'm Sébastien Blanc. I'm half Dutch, half French. That's why I have this sexy accent. And I'm a Java champion, Java developer. I'm a developer advocate, so if you don't know exactly what that is, my job is to make developers happy, basically. Currently, I'm a developer relation engineer at Port, which is an internal developer portal. And in my life, I love the game Half-Life, best game ever, and I love cats. I have 5 cats, 2 kids, 1 wife. Let's go. Okay, so don't pay attention. It has nothing to do with what I'm going to say, but it's just funny. The main idea here is to demystify a little bit what MCP is. Honestly, in my 21 years of career, I think MCP is the craziest buzz I ever saw. And I'm really surprised because it's nice, it's fun, but it's not that crazy, okay? Please stay in the room, it's still cool. But yeah, I really wanted to demystify that. So let's start talking about before MCP. And when you're creating a Java app maybe, but an AI-infused app. I really like this term of infused app. I think it's Clément that came up with this term. Could be a chatbot, could be an agent. What are the important things to keep in mind? Of course, you have to pick the right LLM, okay? That's totally not in the scope of this talk. Really important, but then there are a few other things. One of them is prompt engineering, okay? I was probably the first one of making jokes about prompt engineering, I think, 2 years ago. But yeah, now I have to admit it's a real skill, and it's really, really important, okay? And nowadays, we are not really talking about prompt engineering anymore. We are more talking about context engineering, okay? But prompts, you have to spend a lot of time. You want to use the right instruction prompt or system prompt, depending where you come from. They have different names. And if you're working in a company, your company probably want to have more or less control on the instruction system prompts that you are using, okay? They want to streamline that to developers. If we're thinking about platform engineering, that is really in the hype, you know? The platform team streamlines what developers can use. Okay, so you have to write really good prompts. And you start writing your app. Okay, so here you can see my design skills. And in your app, you have maybe 4 different prompts, okay? And you package that, you put that to production, everyone is happy, okay? And you move to the second project you're working on. And again, you have to write a lot of prompts. And at one point, when you also package that and you put it in production, you just realize that those 4 prompts here are exactly the same. So you were just repeating yourself. So maybe someone in your team will build some kind of catalog tool to centralize your prompts, and that's a good idea. And you should do that, unless you are using MCP. I will come back on that later. But yeah, you realize that. The second thing when you're working on an AI-infused app, so you have the prompt engineering part, context engineering, if you add some RAG and stuff like that, okay. The other one is, especially if you're using agents, but even chatbots, you want to give the LLMs a list of tools, saying, hey, look at this. This is my prompt, and this is a list of functions that you can call. Well, you don't call them directly, but you can, in the response, ask my app to call this tools for me, okay? And those tools, if you're using Java, it's probably a list of your Java methods that you want to expose to your LLM, okay? So if we take it from a role point of view, that is an example probably with OpenAI. Yeah, I see the model there. That is more or less how you expose to your LLM, saying, hey, look, I have some tools to create tickets, to delete tickets, maybe to create pull requests, whatever, okay? And the great thing is, if you're using some libraries that abstract that away from you, and you should use those libraries, it's pretty easy. I got here two really short examples. So imagine you're working on a Java app, okay? And basically, you have a method that you want to expose to your LLM, so that the LLM, in a response, can say, hey, I want to call this tool. In this case here, I'm showing you a snippet of code using Quarkus. But I think, and James Ward told me that this morning, in Spring AI, you have exactly the same annotation. So you write your business method, you can do whatever you want in there, and then you just annotate that with tool, you give it a description, really important, put some time, some effort in the description, not like here, okay? Because that will really help the LLM to decide if he wants to send in a response that you have to call this tool or not. Same counts here for the parameters. I didn't put it here in the example to keep it short, but you can also describe your parameters. And if you're using LangChain for J in this case, okay, that will translate automatically to this when the response will go out, the request will go out to your LLM. Okay, that's another example, and that's pretty interesting because, of course, you want to expose your internal business logic to your LLMs, but I'm pretty sure that any app, any agent that you will build will also consume a lot of external tools, external services. Could be SaaS solutions, could be your Jiras, could be your GitHubs. So what you're basically doing here is you're wrapping here an API call to an external service, in this case, GitHub, and you just wrap that in a new method that you annotate to tool. Okay, so that will happen a lot. Keep that in mind because with MCP it will be a bit easier. And again, you start working on your application, you are building your tools that you expose as tools. And then you package it, you put it in production, you become rich, you're happy, and then you start working on your second application, okay? And again, you write a whole set of tools. And again, you realize that those 4 tools are exactly the same. So what do? Well, you can extract them, put them in a jar, create a dependency, and add that as dependency to each of your apps. That's a way of doing it, okay? And again, your platform team probably wants to streamline exactly which tools you are able to use, especially those tools that are wrapping calls to external APIs. Okay? So, basically, what would be awesome? Again, I'm so proud of my design skills. What would be cool is that you have your 2 apps here. You might have really specific prompts, specific tools to your app that can stay in your app, okay? But everything that you know that you will be reusing in other apps, it will be nice if you could put that all together in an external component in a server, okay? And then that your app just can connect to that and say, hey, give me all the prompts you have, give me all the tools you have, okay? And the thing is, we want to be sure that the way how we communicate with this server is standard, is done in a standard way, okay? And that is exactly what MCP is, okay? A standard, it's a protocol, it's in the name, MCP, P is for protocol, okay? So it's a protocol that just defines how an application can make a connection to a server, in this case, an MCP server, and then say, hey, give me all the prompts you have, give me all the tools you have, give me all the resources you have. So just a disclaimer, there are lots of things in MCP, but I will focus a bit on prompt and mostly on tools. But you can also retrieve resources. But basically, it's just a protocol to say, hey, give me the list. And then, of course, hey, I want to retrieve this prompt, or I want to execute this tool. And that is exactly what MCP is. So for your organization internally, you might want to build your own MCP server where you put all of this. And since it's a protocol, it doesn't really matter. Then you can also add any external SaaS providers or tools that also offer MCP support. So GitHub has an MCP server, so I can start also consuming that using the same protocol. Here on the left, that is our MCP server from port, okay, which is great, by the way, of course. That's why I'm standing here. I'm getting paid for that, but you should try it. But yeah, so it's not only about consuming your own stuff that you expose, but also, and almost all the famous vendors like GitHub, Jira, you just name it, they all have now their own MCP server. And your app, because it's a protocol, you just use the same client, say, hey, I want to connect to the GitHub MCP server, and they will give you back the list of tools of creating a pull request, retrieving the issues, and stuff like that. Okay, so if we take a look in detail, how does it work? Let me grab some water. Okay, so first of all, you need to pick a transport mode. Okay, so in the beginning of when MCP came out, so that's more or less a year ago, all the examples, everything that I was seeing was using a standard I/O. Okay, so you are using the standard I/O, and it's basically like a library that you package locally with your app. And I was not really a fan of that. And already back at this moment, you also had a second option, which is a remote MCP server. And you can connect there with HTTP. And in my mind, I say, hey, that will be the one that everyone will be using later. And I can see now that the trend is more to remote MCP servers. Okay, how does it work? So you have a client, AI-infused app, and you initialize a request with an MCP server. You get a response, okay, and then you can start doing things. What can you do? I won't dive you into the whole protocol because it's boring as hell, but let me show you a few things that you can do. So just about the format, how do we communicate? So it's using JSON, yeah. I always want to see JSON because, you know, in France, G we say J and J we say G. It's a complete brain explosion in our French brains for that. But JSON RPC 2.0 is the wire format. And let me just show you some interesting calls that you can do. So for tools, you have a discovery endpoint called tools/list, and that will retrieve all the tools that the MCP server exposes. And of course, then you have this list, and at one point you want to call a tool, and for that you have an endpoint called tools call. Same for prompt, okay? So prompt is, most of the tutorials and talks that you will see is about tools, but I really love the prompt support as well, because that means that you can streamline your prompts to your development teams, etc. And again, you have more or less the same thing. You can retrieve a list of prompts, okay, prompts/list. You can retrieve a prompt, and when you retrieve a prompt, when you do a get prompt, you can also pass variables, and you can have a template on the MCP server side, and that will replace the variables of your template, okay? If you're using, for example, the Quarkus Length4j extension, you might not need that because the templating is already available in your app, okay? But just to keep in mind, you can do that. Let me see, 15 minutes. Nice, nice. Ooh, I think I want to show you concretely how it works because it's a tools in action and that were enough slides. So let's move to some live coding. Okay. So I got an app here. It's called the Meeting Bot. What does the Meeting Bot does? Well, it's a chat bot that can ingest meeting transcripts. So you can see here, it's a transcript. Speaking about the super cache feature, you have Philippe. It's you. You have Mary, Karim, Betty, and they're discussing. You have a few, and the app will just ingest that, and then you have an AI service, which is pretty simple here. You are an AI answering questions about the Teams meeting. Okay, you will try to answer by summarizing the meeting with short sentence. Cool, but that's not all. We also have tools. Okay, and here we are not speaking about MCP yet because tools is something that existed before MCP. And here I just have one tool, which is called create task, okay, with the description, create a task for the assignee. You might recognize that the snippet that I had in my slide. And basically, the LLM, if he detects, if he came up with in the transcript that something must be assigned to someone, one of the attendees of the meeting, he will just call this method. Okay, so pretty simple application. Let me start it. There we go. Again, should be fast. Here is ingesting the scripts. He's regifying that, etc. Okay, there we go. Cool. Let me just go there. Localhost 8080. That is my meeting buddy. Okay. And here I can ask him things like how many people are attended this meeting, etc. But I could also ask him, hey, because I'm lazy, can you assign the tasks? Assign the tasks. Okay, let's go. And here he should, let me go back here. And you can see here, let me zoom in a bit. Here you can see that creating a task assigned to Philippe with its current content, integrate improvement into deployment playbook, ensure quick collaboration. Another task for Karim and another task for Mary. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the log info part. But that's good news. That means that my tool is working. Okay. Now I realize that I have other apps that are also need this tool, create task, because it's pretty useful, it's pretty popular. So I decide to remove that from my app and put that into an MCP server. So what do I need to do? First of all, in this case, I'm showing you here with Quarkus. There's an extension which is called, let me go there, in the dependencies called Quarkus MCP Server SSE. Okay, I'm probably on an old version. I was not brave enough to go to the latest version. Clément say, you can do it, Sebi. But I say, no, let's keep to the, I'm sure this one should work because demogods are pretty powerful in Antwerpen. Anyway, that's the only dependency I need to add, okay? And then I can write my server. And you will see here, basically what I do, I just create a class called tools, and then I create my tool here. Okay, it's exactly the same thing. So here, again, I'm just logging, but of course, in the real life, you will put all your logic here. The return is a bit different. It's a tool response, okay? And I put here a bit more stuff. But that's all I need to do. So let me open another stuff. Let me make sure it's running. No, that's the wrong app. Sorry, there we go. Resources, application properties. Oh, it's not on the same port. That was the thing that I wanted to double check. Okay, and that won't work if I don't go in the correct folder. So let me go to server and let me run the MCP server. Okay. Usually I live code this part, but I realize it's pretty boring. So So my MCP server is ready to use. Okay, it's using the HTTP, so there's an endpoint, and any app that is using an MCP client can connect to my app and consume this list of tools. That's pretty cool. So let's go back to my meeting bot app. And what do I need to do here? So first thing I can do is I can get rid of this class because I don't need it because it's in my MCP server now. There we go. OK. And then I need to add a dependency. Oh, yeah, here I say you don't need the tools anymore. There we go. OK. And then I say, hey, you need an MCP client library. And that should be easy. Let me go just to my own README. And I grab this, and I just go to my POM here. Let me just focus. Yes, there we go. And I just add it here. OK, so that adds an MCP client. OK, and then what do I need to do? Well, I just need to add some configuration because my app needs to know where my MCP server is running. And how can I do that? Again, I'm lazy, so I just go here to my own documentation, which is not up to date, I see here, but it should be OK. And I go here and I say, OK, it's HTTP and it's running on port on this location. OK, so let's save that. I'm using everything is running here in dev mode, so I should not have to stop and start again everything here. OK, let's see if the demo gods are with me. So the demo won't be that impressive. It should do exactly the same thing as I just showed you just before. But keep in mind that this time a remote MCP server will call the tools. So let's try it. Let's refresh. OK, let's open that. OK, hey, I'm Bob. How can I help you? Can you, and again, can you assign the task? OK, let's try it. I burdened Windows Vista CD-ROM this morning in front of the hotel, so that should help. Let me go. Is that the correct one? Yeah, that's the correct one. So that's the log of my server, OK? And because my meeting bot is running here. That is my server. And you can see that there were some tasks created for Philippe, for Marie, and for Karim. OK? So yeah, it took me few minutes. I'm so fast today. That's great. I will have time to show you other stuff. But basically, that's how you can use MCP. You might notice here in Quarkus here, I can name my MCP server. So here I call it workshop, but because that's based on a workshop. I will show you a QR code if you want to replay this workshop. I have a bit more. I have also prompt, the prompt part, so MCP server serving prompts. When I showed that to Clément Escoffier, he was really afraid. He didn't notice, he didn't know that we could do that because I'm a bit misusing the library. But you can do it. You can change the system prompt at runtime. Anyway, but that means that I could have here, let me just do that. I could name another one here like GitHub, okay? And here I point to the URL of the remote server of GitHub, okay? Of course, I have to pass a token, etc. I'm not going to do that. Or any other server, or maybe you have some, I call it now old school standard IO MCP server. You can just list them there, okay? And they will automatically be added as when your apps do the first request to the LLM, it will first retrieve the tools from all those MCP servers. Cool. I'm pretty happy. Usually I'm late because I have demo effects, but I got 5 minutes left, and that's awesome because I have 2 other things to show you. Let me go back to the slides. Where are my slides? There. Okay. Where's the... Oh, you know what? Let's do some live and skip slide. That's better. So what I just show you, oh, I even added an animation to the slide. If you scan this QR code, it will bring you to a repo where you can replay exactly what I showed you. There are all the instructions, okay? If you find any typo, anything that's not working, or you are brave enough to update to the latest version, make some pull requests. I love pull requests, okay? Okay, so 2 more other things that I want to show you. First of all, it's a tools in action, though I want to show you another really cool tool. Because you might have in mind that, hey, MCP server is not just like a REST call, it's not just like APIs. That's more or less true. And maybe I have already a lot of APIs exposed, maybe exposed as HTTP, so really REST endpoints. But maybe some of them are legacy code. It's still running in production. You know those apps that no one dare to touch, but it's running there. And it will be really cool to have them exposed as MCP tools. Okay? So it will be nice if you have a tool that you say, hey, I get some APIs running at this endpoint. Here I give you the open API definition. And please expose that as an MCP server. Okay? And that is exactly what you can do with this tool that I discovered a few days ago. So it's called, I don't know how to pronounce it, mycp.io. So basically, for now it's a SaaS server, but they told me it will also be available on-prem, etc. But basically, it ingests an open API or a gRPC, okay? And then you say, okay, I want to expose not maybe only the read, only the get, or maybe the get and the put, something like that, not the delete. And it will give you an endpoint, because it's a SaaS server, an endpoint which is an MCP server, which is pretty cool. So just a quick demo, not a complete demo, but just to show you. So there's a CLI called MCP. Okay, and here I say MCP exposed, that's a service I created before, and I'm pointing to api.openmeteo.com. Okay, that's a pretty famous API, I guess, for people that like weather. I don't really care about it, but anyway, what I did, I said, hey, take this one, and please expose that as an MCP server, okay? And that was the result, okay? So it's a few commands and you get it exposed. And then if you, so that is exposed, and then you can use what I'm using a lot. I don't know if you know that, it's MCP Inspector, okay? And here I put a URL, okay? I'm connected and I get a list of tools and I get this exposed as an MCP tool, okay? So it's really a no-code approach. It's pretty awesome. And I promise, because I know the creators, they might even be around this week, but they are open to beta. So what I'm going to do now, okay, it's just to, you can scan this, then you click here, the beta request, you just a form, and if in the form, you can add additional remarks. If you say, hey, I saw the talk from Sebi at Devox, I will make sure you got to the top of the list and you will get access this week, probably. Okay? It's a really nice tool, so I leave it there a few more seconds. Okay? Otherwise, you will have it on the recording. And I get 1 more minute to talk about my company. More or less. Just last thing I want to show you. Oh yeah, and I promised the Quarkus team. If you go to the latest if you use the latest Quarkus version, Quarkus dev mode exposed itself as an MCP server. I just let you digest that, but it's really powerful. Anyway, I'm working in a company that does an internal developer portal. So we are speaking about platform engineering, and the great thing is that MCP is really what we needed in platform engineering. Because you as a platform team, you want to streamline exactly the tools. the prompt that you want to use. So for me, it's the magic combo. My company is using that, and I got 10 seconds left just to show you quickly how it could look like. So that is my internal portal, but that means that you can have prompts here, and you can add additional data like status, owner, etc. Yeah, and those prompts, you can add them, and they will be available directly to the MCP server of port. And if I do here with cursor this, I can get here all my prompts. I was planning to add a prompt live, but I'm already 20 seconds over time, and I want to give time for the next speaker. Thank you so much. As always, it's a pleasure to deliver talks here. Thank you so much. Enjoy DevOps.